All right, so I'm just making a response video here real quick to what Moist Critical, Charlie White, and Dr. K did recently. It was a bit of a paid promo kind of thing, but I thought the topic was really interesting. It was about gamer rage. The reason I'm chiming in on this is because in the past, when I was a young man, and I used to be a competitive FPSer, my game of choice was Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Enemy Territory, but that was an age ago. Basically, I used to suffer from this to the point where I had holes in my wall and things, just trying to chase like the number one spot and the splatter ladders and just nonsense, big waste of time. But also another reason that I'm chiming in on this is, I don't know if you can see it, but the things behind me are diplomas that I mostly owe. One of them is for psychology. What I'd like to add to the conversation is basically two things. First off, they picked up on a little something that I had written about a long time ago, and this is why a game that frustrates you, a game that you lose in, occasionally at least, is more engaging than one that you just win. So it's kind of counterintuitive because obviously nobody likes to lose. So why would that be something that engages us? Well, sure, there's the sort of overcoming of a challenge that is obviously rewarding. But one of the things that goes into this, and this also has to do with the rate at which loot is handed out, is threshold setting. So if I am constantly being given some kind of item or some kind of a reward, just like a drug, basically, in order to get a bigger dopamine hit, I'm going to want a bigger win, a bigger reward of some kind. Whereas if I lose, win, I set the threshold there, then it comes back down as I'm losing, and the win brings me back up and the losing. So the same can be said about loot. If a game is just constantly giving you loot, it doesn't feel rewarding. Whereas if you get a 5-star gem in Diablo Immortal, it's a rush. Not that I've ever gotten one, except in the $25 Rift Simulator. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was, of course, gamer rage and where it comes from. And I think it comes from the same source, honestly, that road rage comes from. And that's the fact that we're engaged in a physical, semi-physical, I should say, activity that is somewhat of a challenge. Our senses have to be engaged. We're at a heightened sense of, if you're playing an FPS, or if you're driving 75 miles an hour down the highway, your senses better be engaged. You better be alert and you better be able to respond to what's coming at you. Your life's in actual danger when you're driving, but it sometimes feels that way when you're playing and you're going for, the top. Like I had to win like 104 times in a row to hit the number one spot. Otherwise, I'd drop like 10 places off one loss. So the stakes were very high for no reason at all except my own doing. But the point is, you're getting all of this input, like you're in combat. You're in this fierce situation and you have no output. You have no physical output. Now, like pretty much everyone else, I've also done martial arts in my days, not enough to get, cauliflower ears, not that you can even see it with my hair, but enough to know what it's like to get kicked in the head and punched in the face. And you think that would make you really angry. But actually, when you have that exertion, when you're punching and you're kicking too, I felt like hugging the guy when I was done. Like, I just want to make peace when I'm done. And that's because I have this constant, what in Spanish is called desahogar. It means to get rid of that feeling. So all of this adrenaline is building up and then it's being exerted. So it's the same thing as if poison is rising in your system, you got to get it out of you. That's the only way. And your metabolism will try to do that, and it will eventually. But sometimes you can be playing a game and your hand will start shaking literally from adrenaline. That's the result of adrenaline. And if you're exerting that force, then the adrenaline is being consumed. It's just like, energy that is being consumed. So we're in this fake situation, this very synthetic situation in which we have all of the inputs and we have no way to get rid of what's being built up. Again, another thing that's really important to note here is that there's a certain sense of disrespect both in driving and in video games when some guy comes up to you and beats you. I was like, I'm the hero here. What's going on? Like, you're not supposed to beat me. I'm supposed to win. This is my story. But that's the monkey brain hierarchy trying to preserve itself. So that's something that's very important to most men, which is to say, I don't want my place in the totem pole to just be lowered by some guy that just came in, like was camping behind a box or something and just snipe me in the back of the head as I'm running by, and now I dropped 10 points on the splatter ladder. So that's really important to note. Like, that's why gamer rage is happening. So one of the things that I would recommend, is a really good strategy and something that I had to adopt before I had to replace another door, was get up, do some exercise, like actually exert yourself, and you'll actually see that rage level will diminish drastically. So I don't know if Charlie will see this, but if I could give any advice to somebody, you don't have to go through 100 hours of therapy to try to become like some Vulcan. You can just literally do some jumping jacks, or buy yourself a punching bag. Get up and punch the bag a little bit. And I know you can't do that at a tournament, so that's a whole different thing, but that's probably only going to affect about 1% of gamer rage, maybe, I don't know. You're going to have a lot of people at home punching holes in walls, and let's save the walls. Just do some exercise. Get up, do some push-ups. You'll be in better shape anyways. So that's all I had to say. Thanks.